Hey folks, welcome to the Shadowlands Pre-Patch overview of some of the Druid talents. So we're going to run through two different builds. The first one on your screen right now is actually tied to dungeons. We'll also touch on the raid setup and touch briefly on some differences between balance as we roll forward out of BFA into Shadowlands. So in Tier 1, we're going with Force of Nature. It actually just comes down to Force of Nature or Nature's Balance from a competitive perspective. Nature's Balance is more damage, but Force of Nature is actually a very powerful tank cooldown. So generally recommend Force of Nature, but play whatever you feel is necessary. So if you want to roll whatever makes you happy on that front. But if you're trying to min-max, Force of Nature. Up next, Wild Charge, primarily because it'll just gives you that extra mobility. Being able to jump backwards out of ranged attacks makes a huge difference. Restoration Affinity, I actually think that this is huge, mainly because of the addition of Ursul's Vortex. It's incredibly overpowered. Like, I can't express my excitement that it's still included as part of our kit. And it'll make a huge difference even just with our lone ability to kind of complement our tanks kiting. It's going to be great. Up next in Tier 4, go with Mighty Bash. It just kind of helps further mob control, so really great in Mythic Dungeons. Soul of the Forest is the best option in AoE situations now. That may be a little bit of an adjustment. And it's decent for single target. We did get our cooldowns buffed up a little bit, but our baseline paid the price. But as far as dungeons go, Soul of the Forest is certainly the way to fly. Tier 6, Stellar Rift. So with Starfall actually doing some solid damage in Shadowlands, Stellar Drift is like a nuke for us. So really excited to see that kind of come in. Being able to increase Starfall duration by 2 seconds is huge. And finally, Solstice up on Tier 7. So during the first 6 seconds of every eclipse, shooting stars fall 300% more often. And hey, with more buffs to shooting stars, that just seems really easy. Hey, so that's our pretty straightforward dungeon build as far as Balance Druids go. Now, a little different here is what we're going to propose going into raids. So we need to do a couple things a little bit differently. Nature's Balance, like we mentioned previously, is the top choice for damage throughput. If you don't need the utility from Force of Nature, and in a raid there's no reason you should, avoid the talent, get back to Nature's Balance, take advantage of the extra astral power. It makes a huge difference. Tier 2, stick with Wild Charge, just the added benefit. Tier 3, Restoration Affinity, I prefer that just primarily for Ursa's Gift and the other healing and healing over time spells that you're able to pick up just to complement your heals or at least top yourself up. Tier 4 is Heart of the Wild. I know it's such a long cooldown, right? You're looking at a 5-minute burn, but if it actually increases your abilities by 30% and gives you an instant star surge, that can be a pretty significant hammer. So make sure you're lining that up with your bloodlust or your heroism as you come across it. Tier 5, Star-Lord is the highest damage option in the row. Not a lot of significant drawbacks associated with it. You could make an argument for Incarnation, but it actually comes down to timing. And honestly, step back and just evaluate, how is that 3-minute cooldown going to line up with the rest of your kit? Tier 6 is going to be Stellar Flare. That's a little bit of an adjustment, but with the single target aspect of how raids are set up, Stellar Flare is actually going to be your go-to. Stellar Drift is your other choice. and we did mention that that's the go-to in Mythic Plus dungeons. So keep that in consideration. Finally, Solstice. So with the recent buff to shooting stars, again, it's the go-to. Like it's an obvious no argument. So really looking forward to where the build goes over the next little bit. And yeah, kind of seeing where our fun little gameplay takes us next. Big things, again, maintain 100% uptime on your dots if you're completely new to the spec. So consistently apply Sunfire, Moonfire, and Stellar Flare. Don't let your Astral power cap, and use your Eclipse as soon as it becomes available. So always be shooting something. That's the ABCs of Balance Druid. That's the really quick talent overview for Raid and Mythic Dungeons. Balance Druid's coming in pretty consistent, like high utility. Having Ursol's Vortex, again, makes a huge difference. And having a little bit more single target capability to burn, I think, is actually going to be huge for us as well. So I expect to see a little more Balance Druid, get a bit more competitive, and hopefully I am seeing you all enjoying it in the game here soon as pre-patch rolls on out. Alright folks, thanks for taking the time to check out the video. Drop a comment if you have any questions about the new abilities, AoE caps, the viability of balance itself compared to other casters that are out there, or the impacts of losing corruption, or some of the best or worst priorities that you should be considering as you're getting used to the spec. Alright, thanks for checking it out so far, and send me a note if you need any help with anything. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care.